Terrorism helps Republicans. The McCain campaign on the prospect of another attack on U.S. soil says John McCain's top advisor, quote, certainly it would be a big advantage for him.
I cannot imagine why he would say it. It's not true.
But Charlie Black admits to Fortune not only would another terror attack here in this country help McCain and the Republicans, but one in Pakistan last December already did. The assassination of Benazir Bhutto in December was, Black says, an unfortunate event, and it helped us. The nexus of politics and terror and John McCain, the political explosion with Dana Milbank, the unholy merging of counter-terror and presidential ambition with Richard Clarke. Good evening. This is Monday, June 23rd, 134 days until the 2008 presidential election. The chief campaign strategist for Senator John McCain has told Fortune magazine that a terrorist attack on U.S. soil before the election would be a, quote, big advantage for the presumptive Republican nominee. Our fifth story on the countdown, the first rule of October Surprise is you do not talk about October Surprise. Senator McCain's immediate reaction upon learning what Mr. Black had said, quote, I cannot imagine why he would say it. It's not true. The McCain campaign then claiming Mr. Black did not remember making the comments in Fortune. Mr. Black himself deeply regretting the comments. Put them all together. Black deeply regrets something that his colleagues had claimed he could not remember. Charlie Black actually admitting that news of terrorism was good news for Senator McCain in New Hampshire, and that more of the worst news we could possibly get would be more good news for the Republican nominee in the general election. From Fortune magazine, the assassination of Benazir Bhutto in December was an unfortunate event, says Black, but his knowledge and ability to talk about it reemphasized that this is the guy who's ready to be commander-in-chief, and it helped us. As Wood, Black concedes with startling candor after we raised the issue, another terrorist attack on U.S. soil. Certainly, it would be a big advantage to him, says Black. An unnamed senior McCain campaign official saying this afternoon that Black did not remember making those comments in Fortune, but that he did not dispute them. The official adding that the context of Black's argument in the interview, an interview he apparently does remember giving, was that Senator McCain is favored on national security issues and that any day national security leads the news is a good day for McCain. Mr. Black himself issuing a non-apology apology, expressing only regret for remarks he may or may not have made. Quote, I deeply regret the comments. They were inappropriate. I recognize that John McCain has devoted his entire adult life to protecting his country and placing its security before every other consideration. At a news conference in Fresno, California, Senator McCain responding to a question about Mr. Black's comments, both by saying they are not true and by preemptively claiming that they might have been taken out of context.
I cannot imagine why he would say it. It's not true. I've worked tirelessly since 9/11 to prevent another attack on the United States of America. My record is very clear. The Armed Services Committee on pieces of legislation, sponsoring with Joe Lieberman the 9/11 Commission so we could find out the causes and how to fix the challenges that we face as to the security of this nation. I cannot imagine it, and so I would, if he said that, and I do not know the context, I strenuously disagree.
The Obama campaign tonight calling Charlie Black's comments to Fortune a complete disgrace. Spokesman Bill Burton saying in a statement, quote, Barack Obama welcomes a debate about terrorism with John McCain, who has fully supported the Bush policies that have taken our eye off of al-Qaeda, failed to bring Osama bin Laden to justice, and made us less safe. The fact that John McCain's top advisor says that a terrorist attack on American soil would be a big advantage for their political campaign is a complete disgrace and is exactly the kind of politics that needs to change. Time to call in first our own Dana Milbank, national political reporter of the Washington Post. Good evening, Dana.
Good evening, Keith.
Is McCain scrambling because this is a horrific premise for any politician of any party, or is he scrambling because the Republicans do operate on this premise and want people to know it, but nobody is ever supposed to get caught saying it on the record?
Well, this is, to paraphrase Charlie Black, an unfortunate event. In fact, it's a classic case of Michael Kinsley's rule of a gaffe in politics. It's when you accidentally speak the truth. And of course, whether it's true or not, the McCain campaign believes that it is true. We in the Washington Post poll asked 11 different issues. Terrorism is the only one where John McCain has a sizable advantage over Barack Obama, but only 4% of people now say terrorism is the top issue. They need to make terrorism the top issue. They're not supposed to say it this way, though.
It's not true and or it's taken out of context, the Senator McCain's knee-jerk responses here Are they his knee-jerk responses to anything that does not fit the day's preset schedule, the agenda? I mean, regardless of whether there's truth or context having anything to do with it, I mean, they can drum up those charges sort of after the fact?
Well, I think that's sort of spin 101 as they were trying to sort of grasp how big this potential scandal was here. And I think as it became clearer throughout the day, there was more of a full-throated attempt to say, look, we're going to distance ourselves from this remark. But the fact of the matter is McCain can't really come out there and say it's not true. It doesn't mean that he wishes for another terrorist attack, but it's an indisputable fact that they believe that anything that will bring terrorism front and center is good for him. It's the same thing that the president did in 2002, 2004, and 2006.
All right, let's put the shoe on the other foot, Dana. I mean, what would the reaction, do you think, be if Senator Obama's chief strategist or anybody even remotely connected to his campaign said that a terrorist attack on U.S. soil would benefit his candidacy? What kind of world would we be living in tonight?
Well, there'd be all kinds of outrage, but I think more to the point, nobody would particularly believe it, so it wouldn't take off to the same extent. Now, we can debate whether the sort of fear campaign still works. It seems to have worked a little bit less each time they've done it, 2002, 2004, 2006, but it still has some effect. That's why we see Obama wearing a flag pin on his lapel today. So clearly it's something they are worried about, and I think if you woke them up in the middle of the night, they'd say, yeah, a terrorist attack probably would help McCain.
Fortunately, we've never had to test that in reality to see whether there would be adherence to the party already in power or some blaming to them. We haven't had to test that. Let's hope we never do. But where do we go in terms of this story from here? Does McCain have to, whether he likes it or not, fire Charlie Black or face having this bell along with other bells around his neck all summer and all fall?
Well, he's going to wait and see. I imagine they're certainly going to hope that this becomes a 24-hour thing that blows over, which it well could be, depending on what events happen in the coming days. But if it keeps being brought back to them, they'll have to take some action here. The irony here is that Charlie Black is a very soft-spoken, well-liked figure, and this does seem rather out of character for him to sound off in this way.
Well, I can't imagine that anybody would unnecessarily keep this story going for any particular reason. Dana Milbank of MSNBC and the Washington Post. We'll talk to you about this tomorrow.
And the next day.
That's right, and the day after that. Thank you, Dana.
Thanks.
For more, let's turn now to Richard Clarke, who was the National Security Council's counterterrorism chief under both President Bush and President Clinton, currently chairman of GoodHarborReport.com and author of the book, Your Government Failed You, Breaking the Cycle of National Security Advisors. It's good to see you in person again, sir.
It's great to be here, Keith.
Did Charlie Black just erase any remaining line between counterterrorism and scaring people for political gain?
Well, I think that line was erased in 2004. It's been erased in every election since 9/11. And what Charlie Black did is reveal their thinking. Not that they wanted a terrorist attack, but that they do plan to run by scaring us. They're using the same playbook they've been using for years because it works. And if McCain is sincere in saying that he's shocked that there's gambling going on in his casino, then he ought to fire Charlie Black. I mean, Charlie Black ought to be gone tomorrow morning so that we can say once and for all that this campaign is not going to be a campaign about fear and about saying that one guy is soft on terrorism and if you vote for him, there'll be another terrorist attack. All the sorts of things that we've heard in the past.
Yeah, just somebody once saying this is not going to be a mixture of politics, presidential politics, and the necessary counterterrorism, because this is the darkest part of it. You can argue the politics forever and blame game forever, but what the darkest part of this, I think, and I'd like your opinion on it, is that we are necessarily faced with, if there are any legitimate warnings or any plots that come up between now and November, they now have to be seen through the prism of what Black has just said.
Well, that's right, and the fact that we now know from Tom Ridge and others that when there were threats released in 2004, they were largely exaggerated and blown up. So we're now in a situation where the American people won't believe a warning if there were a real one. But McCain can stop all of that. He can stop talking about Hamas has endorsed Obama. He can stop all of these sort of innuendos and go to the issues-based campaign he said he was going to do. And the way he does that is by tomorrow morning announcing the resignation of Charlie Black and saying that he wants to run on the issues and not as the scare candidate, not as the scaremonger, not as the scarecrow.
Does he take a hit one way or the other because this does, to some degree, reflect that that intangible that he is running on, judgment in crisis relating to national security? I mean, this was the comments that he made about Bhutto, that Charlie Black made about Bhutto's assassination, that this helped them in New Hampshire, are pretty damn stupid, because obviously this suggests to terrorists, whether they had any intention or not, that they can materially affect American politics and get whoever they want, perhaps, elected, and all sorts of other matters. And in addition to the point we were just making, which is this re-injects this idea of we will say something that could conceivably mean that the next terror alert is ignored or viewed utterly cynically. What kind of judgment is it? And is that part of the judgment process about somebody's judgment, where you say, well, look, you have this man working for him, and clearly he does not know when to keep his big mouth shut?
Well, Charlie Black knows a lot about politics, but he doesn't know much about terrorism. Mm-hmm. If he did, he would know that Osama bin Laden, Ayman Zawahiri, and all the al-Qaeda leadership watch U.S. politics very closely. We've even had cases where in interviews, bin Laden quoted opinion polls from European public opinion polls. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they understand that they can manipulate politics, as they tried to in the Spanish election with the attacks there. And to say, yeah, you can manipulate our politics, come and do it, is an invitation that the McCain campaign shouldn't be anywhere near.
From what you're seeing regarding those who are advising McCain and McCain's own predilections in this, is there any indication, is there any space that would suggest, and obviously what he does about Charlie Black is perhaps the biggest examination he's had on counterterror yet, right, but is there any indication that he is deviating to any degree from the Bush handling of this, which seems to be political opportunity first, photo opportunity second, protect the country third?
Well, not yet, and in fact quite the opposite. I mean, the remark that McCain made about how Hamas had endorsed Senator Obama, as though Senator Obama wanted their endorsement, that said to me that they're going to run on this fear card. They're going to run on innuendo and whisper. They're obviously thinking they're going to benefit from the fact that some percentage of the American people think that Senator Barack Obama is a Muslim. And, you know, they need to walk away from all of that, and they have the opportunity now. Charlie Black's mistake, letting the veil drop, is an opportunity for Senator McCain to run a dignified campaign on the issues and walk away from the politics of fear.
Is there an opportunity in it for Obama not to exploit this mistake or exploit this issue or exploit counterterrorism, but to say, all right, here's how I actually differentiate myself from Mr. McCain's approach to the entire issue? Is there some way he can help in this matter shake that thing that has been hung around the Democrats' necks for 7 years, that there's some softness on terror?
Yeah, I think there's a way to have a dialogue in this election campaign about national security, about terrorism, about homeland security, without invoking the fear card. And there are substantial differences in what the two candidates have said. McCain is much more of a let's use the military to deal with terrorism guy. And Obama is saying, no, let's use all of the instruments of national power.
A good time perhaps for him to reemphasize that, as they did in the statement to some degree. Richard Clarke, former National Counterterrorism Advisor, author most recently of Your Government Failed You. As I said, a pleasure to see you in person, sir.
Great to be here.
Take care.